Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome to NASCAR Daily. Shannon Spake. Hornets basketball officially over. 82 games in the books, which means I'm going to be with you guys every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I am so excited to do that. So excited for this show today. Kyle Larson completely dominating. We're going to get to talk to Cliff Daniels as he's going to break down the decision to quote unquote go for it. So I want to say hello to Cliff Daniels, who's joining us now, and congratulations on the win, first and foremost. I do want to ask you about your message to the guys before you guys rolled out there on Sunday, because I know that sports, it's performance-based, right? You want wins and losses and stats and all that stuff, but there are a lot of things that are much bigger than sports. And this past weekend, we really felt that with the loss of Jon. And I like to think of the drivers and the crew chiefs and the athletes that I cover, not as superheroes that are doing incredible things, but as human beings. And so as you kind of talk to your guys, because you are the voice, the last voice they're going to hear before they go out there, what was your message to them?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you asking, and really, as as everyone did this week, we were mourning the loss of Jon. Man, such a beloved guy, not only on our team, but throughout the NASCAR industry as a whole. And to see the outpouring of support, and just the memories that everybody shared, for Jon throughout the week was pretty uplifting for us to see that, dealing with the just very unexpected immediate loss of him on our team, and certainly the void that's going to lead. So, to your question, there was a lot of different, kind of feelings and sensations that we all had as a team of working through it. Of course, many of them obvious, but we were very fortunate to have our chaplain from MRO, Donnie Floyd, who also spends a lot of time at Hendrick Motorsports, give us some pretty encouraging messages just about, the guy that Jon was, and the way that he, lived out his life to the people that he knew. And even if he didn't, know certain people at the racetrack, he was always so gracious and so welcoming to people, that yes, we still had a job to do. We still do the days and weeks ahead, but to celebrate Jon and to carry out his memory, his legacy, and to honor him, is to be more like that, to be the guy that or the team that shows grace to all the people around us, and how we conduct our business, and that is certainly something that Jon did so well for so many years, and left such an impact on so many people that was the message, of who we are, what's our character as a team, how are we going about our daily business, and of course Jon, he would always stress me out a little bit with this before race, but hey, when we go win today, Cliff, here's what we're going to do after the race. He would want us to win and have a great day. So hopefully, we honored him the right way, with how we conduct ourselves, but also the
put me in that group, because I knew him for 20 years, and I hope you guys had a really good craft beer to celebrate who he was and what he meant to everyone in the garage. A long weekend for you guys, a long weekend for Kyle, I should say, very successful one. How much value did you guys take from the Xfinity Series race?
Anytime you can have your driver on track, the same weekend is always going to be valuable. And to see Kyle go run well in the truck race, the way the strategy of that race plays out is always a little bit different every year. And just to get his feedback on the track from the truck race, from the Xfinity race. Congrats to Adam Wall, former race engineer on the 5 team, got his first Xfinity crew chief win this weekend. So happy for him. And every lap Kyle turned on the track throughout the weekend, I think was an opportunity for him to learn and just give us feedback, and kind of keep in touch with what he thought the evolution of the track was going to be. Still a big unknown for the Cup race, but I'm never gonna shy away from letting our guy get on track and run as many laps as possible before.
Yeah, he's a pretty good one to follow. I can't believe it. I was looking at these stats. I mean, and I know that he said it in the media center. It's like 800 and something laps, 873 or something that he's led in the last 2 races. And I do know that the race is a little different, right, from the night race to this one. I'm sure that the decision to go for it, quote unquote, go for it, was not just something that you're like, all right, let's try it out, let's do it. Because I'm sure that you guys had a plan coming in. Can you walk me through that, and then the decision that Kyle and you, I'm sure, made to go, all right, let's see what we can do, and go.
You're talking about
That's right.
when we took the
Yes.
lead. Yeah. So in that case, like everyone, I would say that was preparing themselves for the race yesterday, you kind of had to do it twofold. Is it going to be a tire management only race, or is it going to be the track kind of rubbers in? We don't see a ton of tire fall off, race more like the fall.
Mm-hmm.
How's it going to play out? And with the two different parts of that conversation, naturally come two different approaches and how you have to call the race, what the drivers, would have to manage behind the wheel. So as the race started and the pace is kind of slow, single file line around the bottom, I don't know that from anyone's seat on top of a pit box, it was easy to say what we knew of the tire wear at that point or tire durability. And in this case, I would say, Kyle had a lot of sensations, from what he was feeling that in a way, I'm glad we ran really hard in
Mm-hmm.
our practice run on Saturday and really, chewed up our tires pretty quickly just for, the way the track conditions were and the way all that presented itself. So he really knew the sensation. He knew the feeling of grinding through the tires and wearing them away from the day before in practice. So I guess my point is once we got to a
Right.
certain spot of the race where he knew that there was enough grip in the tire, enough grip in the track that he wasn't just grinding them away. He took it on his own to go make a couple moves and get the lead, which was obviously very strategic and very heads up for him to do to get more clean air on the car, the ability to run the lane that he wanted to run. Um, that in turn also helps save your tires when you have that lane availability and just fresh air. So credit to him for seeing that and reading that and making the move when he did. I was a little concerned at first. He asked me after the race, he's like, "Hey man, what'd you think when I went up there and took the lead? Were you concerned?" And of course, for a few laps, just with the unknown of it, but I just have so much trust in him and what he's feeling. He told me right after practice Saturday, man, I knew when I was grinding through the tires. We had that conversation Saturday night. So for him to do that Sunday, I was kind of reflecting on
Interesting.
that conversation.
How are you spending the off weekend? You got any? You got any plans?
So it's been a very busy
Yeah.
last handful of weeks, and my wife and I were talking about it the other day. Our kids are 3 and 5, and we were kicking around ideas of places to go, things to do, and it's just been so hectic that we kind of looked at each other. We're like, we might just hang around, take our kids to the zoo, go to dinner a couple nights. So we're
Cool.
gonna lay low and
Well, you
enjoy
do
some
that. I
family time.
appreciate your time as always. Congrats on the win. You're awesome. And hopefully we get to chat again before the end of the year. And I'm sure we will.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hope you
You're welcome.
enjoy your off week as well.
All right. Always love catching up with Cliff Daniels. How about we catch you up on the weekend that was for Kyle Larson, because it was pretty good one. Finished second in the Truck Series race, then went to lead 276 laps on his way to a win in the Xfinity Series race. You just heard Cliff Daniels talk about those laps. And then on Sunday, complete domination, everybody. 411 laps led. Here is a crazy stat. Actually, I've got two of them. So 873. That's a lot. That's the amount of laps that Kyle Larson has led in the last two races at Bristol. And listen, I know people are going to say it's hard to pass, clean air, you get out front. It's still Bristol. There's a lot of drivers that would love to win there, and there's a lot of drivers that are good at this racetrack. So for him to do what he did the last two races, here's another number, everybody: 1,762. That's the amount of laps that Kyle Larson has led at Bristol in his career in the Cup Series. So that is very, very good. It's Kyle Larson's playground. We're all just hanging out in it right now. That's Bristol Motor Speedway. We got to give an attaboy to Ty Gibbs, who now has his second top 10 in a row. It's been a really rough start for Ty Gibbs. We've all documented that throughout the way. And he mentioned after the race that he really feels like they're getting back to running where they're supposed to run. He called the season chaotic to start. It certainly has been. And it'll be very good to see that 54 contending for wins, where we know Ty Gibbs wants to be, and so does Joe Gibbs Racing. All right, before we go, I do want to acknowledge my friend and everybody's friend, Jon Edwards, who we lost this past weekend. Just want to say a few words. So, when I got the news, it was like someone punched me in the stomach. I've known Jon since I started in this sports in 2005. I was very green in terms of being a reporter, and I did not know anybody in the garage. When you come into the garage in NASCAR, you really have to learn how to navigate things, and the PR folks are one of those relationships that you really have to build. They're the ones that are always with the drivers, standing next to the drivers. They're the ones that you have to request things through, and you have to learn how to build relationships with those guys. Sometimes that can be scary, especially when you're a young reporter starting out. And Jon Edwards had every right to be one of the scariest PR people, right? He was Jeff Gordon's PR person. He was always right next to Jeff, whether it was on pit road, in the hauler scrums, which thankfully young reporters today don't have to deal with. But I know a lot of you out there know exactly what I'm talking about. Jon would always be right there. If Jeff went to the bathroom, Jon was there. If Jeff was walking down pit road, if Jeff had an appearance, Jon was always there. And Jon was always very kind. He was close to age to me and to many of the folks in the garage, but he always just seemed a little bit older and a little bit more mature and always a lot calmer than especially me and a lot of us that were kind of scattered and running around. And as we progressed, as I progressed in this sport, he was very proud of me and proud of some of the things that I've accomplished and always wanted to talk to me about those things. He was special, and any person that you've heard talk about him over the past couple days, that is exactly what you hear. Just how special he was and how special he made you feel individually by taking the time, by listening to you, by caring about you, and by being proud of you. I will have a craft beer tonight for Jon Rennan Edwards. That was his middle name. I actually found that out one time by looking at his ID and wrote it down and would call him that every single time I saw him, which was not enough. So he will be missed. And I appreciate the opportunity to kind of share some of those stories about my friend, as I'm sure many will be in the garage for a very long time. We'll see you on Wednesday, everybody.